Hello, this is Kim Nelson. This is our next video in a series of videos about making 3D maquettes in Rhino and then bringing that line work into a 2D paint package such as Painter or Photoshop or Procreate, any of the current art tools we want to work with. Left at the last video, having created your drawing in Rhino and having exported it as an Adobe Illustrator file. I'm going to continue from there to show you how the rest of that process would go. Here's the file I saved, Two Stone Maquette AI. Double click on that. It will open it into, it will open it. This is actually here from a previous session, I'm sorry. Start fresh. Double click it. It will open it here in Illustrator. I'm going to click in the background just to make sure that this desktop is active. Control A to select everything. Control G to group everything. The same command you would use in Rhino. Move it up here into the central area. And the only reason, or the main reason I bring it into Illustrator is so that I can change the weight of the lines. I like working with a 0.3 to 0.35. Let's make it 0.33. That's easy. 0.33 point line. You'll see that this is now thinned out quite a bit. If I undo it, you can see how heavy it was. Redo it. That's a much more workable line. Okay? So, having done that, I'm going to export this file out as a JPEG. So I'll give it a name and hit export. I have another copy of that in my files. And this is the important dialog box to pay attention to. Color model has to be RGB, not CMYK, not grayscale, RGB. Quality is all the way to the top, 10, and under the drop down here, maximum. Compression method, the standard is baseline. We want to go with baseline optimized. Resolution is high at 300 ppi, highest on this drop down. And anti-aliasing, that's what a software package does to soften the pixelation in your drawings. It's going to be set to super sampling, which is the highest. Okay, so best quality image you can get. Hit OK, and out it goes. All right. Now, when I go into Photoshop, and I open that, I have a problem. So, it has given me the heavy line weight. Now, excellent opportunity to go back through and do it again. I'm going to go ahead and delete this file. Just to make sure I don't run into that problem again. Go back into Illustrator, select my lines, and set this to 0.33. Export. JPEG. Put in the name. Export. Maximum resolution quality. And then back over into Photoshop. There we go. That looks much better. Okay, so this is the line work out of Photoshop, saved out as a JPEG and brought into Photoshop for continual work, out of Illustrator into Photoshop to continue working on. Now I'm going to show you another way of doing the same thing, because there's more than one option on how to get this work into Rhino. There is a more direct method, although I don't like it as much, and that is to select your curves from your drawing, go to Drafting tab, select Print, and then from your printer destination, pick Image File. You will see you have the various printers attached to the computer as well as Rhino PDF. We want Image File. I set the image to 7.5 by 10 This is not a default size. Normally, Rhino's going to want to do 8.5 by 11, but most of your printers will force a 1/2 inch border all the way around the image. So if you keep it at 8.5 and 11, you're going to have issues as far as the scale of the finished artwork. So 7.5 by 10 solves that problem. Resolution, we don't want to go for display or printer or any of this. We want to go for printer, high quality, the best they have available. Okay. Output is going to be print color. Now this is view and output scale. We want top view. That's what the viewport is. So top viewport. We do not want this to be scaled to fit. 1:1. This is a good double check. On paper, 1 inch equals 25.4 millimeters, which is true. The line width, we want to leave scaled at 1.0, but we want to set it to 0.13. That is the best setting for Rhino line work going into Photoshop. And then we just hit print. Same thing, we're going to save it here in folder. And we're done. Going into Photoshop now. I'm going to open that file. And it's right here. So these are the lines out of Rhino. These are the lines out of Photoshop. I'm going to select these and bring them in to the other file. Control A to select, Control X to cut, Control Tab to switch between currently open documents in Photoshop, and Control V to paste. Okay. Now, these should be the same size. We told Rhino to print it at 1:1 scale. And this is one of the reasons I don't particularly like using Rhino to do this, because I find that I tend to get scaling issues. See that? I know the Photoshop Illustrator version is accurate. So begs the question why it didn't print accurately here. I did have previous versions of this from testing this, so I'm going to do this again to verify. Doesn't take long. Bear with me. File, drafting, print, top 300 dots per inch, 7.5 by 10. Scale is 100%, 1:1. This should be fine. I'm going to print the file. I'm going to give it a different name. Two-stone maquette test. Yeah, better name. Verify. And save. I'm going to come back into Photoshop. Open this newer one. Toggle between open windows. I'm going to copy this layer. And I'm going to paste. Okay. Now we match. Okay? So you can see with the Photoshop version going from Illustrator into Photoshop, I know I'm always going to get actual size. With the Rhino version, because I'd had another file with the same name previously in the system, it kept the original file and didn't let me write over it, even though it said it did. It can be flaky at the end of the day. So you can use the direct Rhino method. I would make sure that you set everything properly and that you give it a fresh name, fresh destination, and it should be okay. But be aware that that can Even though it seems more direct, it can be a problem. Okay, so I have them both in here. They're both fine. I also like the fact that I can get the Photoshop line just a little bit thinner in Illustrator. This is a little heavy. The only thing lower than this in Rhino is hairline, which is useless. It's too fine. Whereas you have full control of the line weight in Illustrator. But if you don't have Illustrator, you don't want to take the extra step to do that, you can print to file directly out of Rhino. So what to do with these now, before we go any further with them? To actually draw upon these, I'm going to want to do a couple of things. I'll go ahead and stack them. I'll go ahead and, actually I'll copy the background. And paste it back in so it's an independent layer. And I will merge these. So they're one layer. This is basic Photoshop we're learning, so in case you didn't get this from last semester, merging layers makes them one flattened layer. The last thing I'm going to do, and this is really important, I'm going to make them more transparent. I don't like a black line for drawing. So here on opacity, I'm going to kick this down to somewhere between 60 and 70%. So I get a nice gray line. It's much easier to work with, both in drawing and rendering, so I vastly prefer it. Having done that, I can position this in the middle of the page if I want. I can make more copies in case I'm trying to do design variants. Whatever I want to do, this is fine. This is good. I do want to make sure that this is set to normal. Sometimes when you merge a multiplied layer, which is what I had to check the scale, sometimes when you merge it, it still maintains some of that transparent effect. So last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it, which is called flatten image in Photoshop. And then I'm going to pick it back up. I'm going to use the marquee tool, which is M on your shortcuts. Drag a window around this. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Control Shift V will paste it in the exact location. And actually, I don't want to copy, I want to cut. Control X to cut. Control Shift V to paste. Activate my Move tool, which is the V shortcut on your keyboard. And I really think that that is fine. Okay, so I do want it on a separate layer for the work I'm going to be doing next. But this is complete. For what I'm expecting for homework, this is what we want. I will do another video taking this further, but that is not required for your homework this week. This is as far as you need to take it. Okay? Thanks for watching.